comes to making more money in your business or having a love life that is successful, there are two things that I am finding will rock your fucking world. And I think you could apply this advice to literally all aspects of life. Okay, you ready? So, number one, let's say you're in a position where you are trying to cultivate a better relationship with somebody. So either they will want to date you, they will want to buy from you in your business. Number one is honesty and transparency and being yourself, like being very genuine. The second part of that, I know that was like a three part of the first. The second is letting go of control, which is really hard for a lot of us who have grown up in environments where there was a lot of uncertainty, right? As kids, maybe you only lived in a single parent home. Maybe you had a death of a loved one very early on. Maybe your parents suffered from addiction or were avoidant. We've all been through some shit, and I say that not from a buck up, get the fuck over it. I say it with compassion. So keep in mind that when you are trying to create a genuine connection with somebody and you're trying to do part one, right, which is being yourself, being authentic, being vulnerable, there can be a fear of like, what is this person going to think of me? Am I too much? Am I not enough? And we can have a tendency to want to do more, right? So to prove in, kind of a underlying or subconscious way that we're good enough or that we should be chosen. And I know this was certainly true for me dating. It was certainly true for me when I first started my business. It didn't really feel it all that much when I was in corporate America. And I think the reason being is because the pressure was off to have to make money. So, if people didn't like me, sure, did I take it the wrong, I probably took it personal, but I was like, well, there's like 500 other people that I could go network with and make money. And so I'm just going to do that. Now, having that sort of cavalier attitude about like, if I'm not their kind of person or they're not my kind of person, like I can just move on to the next. Now that I'm saying it, I should have taken my own advice and be able to apply that to my business when I first started, inquiring with people that I knew who I had relationships with or friends of friends, and really take that pressure off. And that kind of speaks to the second part, which is letting go of control. Like, I find now when I'm in a place where I want another client or I want, this romantic relationship I want him to act exactly the way that I want him to act. I find myself saying, okay, are you reaching out right now to like that person, whoever that person may be, out of faith, or are you reaching out to them based on fear? And when I mean fear, it's more like approving, like it's wanting certainty. It's wanting to feel better. It's wanting for me to feel calm. And so I'm going to really encourage you that if you're in a place where you're kind of friends with everybody, so to speak, to really narrow down and find your people who are the kinds of people who will show up for you when you can, and when they can't, they'll let you know. They don't judge, shame, and criticize you, and they keep what you say between each other. I think when you start with a friend group that's like that, and then you move on to your family, because not all family members meet that qualities and characteristics, you may find that you need to add to your team. My client, Courtney, calls it her board of directors. It's me, it's Di, who's been on the podcast. These people who come into your life, Di's on my board of directors, right? Who can be your sounding board, who in moments when you're feeling not like yourself and you're wanting something so badly, be it a sale or romantic relationship or for that thing to work out, is to be able to have that person behind the scenes who is calming that part of you who is trying to force and control the outcome. And again, remember that comes from growing up in an environment where there was uncertainty. As children, we are told right from wrong and what to do based on our parents. And if our parents weren't necessarily choosing the right things for themselves in terms of right or wrong, when we reflect back on their own behavior, Um, or they just were constantly, maybe it was their tone of voice, the techniques they used, whether there was physical, like I remember getting spanked a lot when I was a kid, like these types of things can impact how we show up in the world and how we create genuine connections with people, be it again, clients or romantic partnerships. And so knowing that, it can help ease that, like, oh, I'm reaching out to this person because I want them to do X, Y, and Z for me, or I'm reaching out to this person because I want them to come work with me. And people can smell that desperation. People can smell that sense of urgency really easily. And because you've seen it too. You like walk into a car dealership and the guy that's like, hi, and you're like, oh my God, I just got out of the car. Like, give me a hot second. So you probably might be like me, which is I'm like, I don't do that. Oh, I find hands down 100%. I've totally done that. And I can probably name the people and I'm not going to do it on the podcast, on like both hands that I have done that to, either in business or in my love life. And I think I took some notes. I actually listened to this Instagram reel earlier that said releasing control of the outcome to allow yourself to be okay by yourself. Remembering that people are in addition to your life instead of a substitute, like instead of it being a substitution, I guess you could say, like, meaning there's you and you're in this little bubble, and then separate from you are these people in your life who can positively impact your life should you choose to let them. We can also choose to let people who negatively impact our lives do that. But I think oftentimes our happiness relies solely on our own behaviors, and then people get to be an additional cherry on top to that. However, that hasn't always been the case for me, and I'm sure you are reflecting now because thinking, oh, that hasn't always been the case. If a client doesn't want to work with me, or somebody I'm interested in dating kind of ghosts me, I can take it personal and I lose my power. And my mentor Di always says to me, why do you do that? Like, there's you and your happiness and who you are, and then there's them, and their behavior means nothing about you. But again, if we go back to those parts of us, those are the ones that are trying to run the show. And so something that I found to be really healing is not projecting that be it this relationship, whatever it may be, has to work, but rather I'm taking time to assess, like, is this person somebody who adds value and adds happiness into my life? And that my happiness isn't contingent on them being in my life. And the last thing I'll say too is something that I've been practicing, especially in my love life, is enjoying that person being in my life in that moment, taking it, day by day, and allowing it to grow into something that it possibly could be. And, when a client tells you, no, not right now, it's like, okay, that just client wasn't meant for you right now. It doesn't mean that they're not meant for you forever. And, you'd be surprised. I remember like having somebody who I'd matched with on a dating app come back like years later, I think on a dating app. And he texted me like, hey, we already have each other's numbers. Hi, how are you? Like, and we ended up getting to know each other for like a good month. And at the end of that month, I realized that like, this wasn't somebody that I was willing to spend my time with anymore. No matter how much I kind of chuckled and laughed from time to time. And I think it's interesting, you can probably assess this for yourself, is that when you reflect back on your love life, say you're in a partnership right now, or you're getting to know someone who does make you laugh, and I know that's true for me, it's like, it makes sense why the timing is what it is. And it also makes sense why other people had to come in before him or before them to be able to, I don't know, raise my level of awareness, raise my level of confidence, because now I'm more clear than ever before as to who I am and what I need and what I want, and how I can use all that to show up for someone else in a partnership. And the same is true for clients. So, moral of the story, if you find that you don't know what you like and what you don't like, really strongly encourage you to get coaching and mentorship as soon as possible. I'm happy to support you. We have Kayla on the team who focuses on relationship coaching. We have the resources available to support you. Um, when it comes to saying you already know yourself really well, and there is, kind of these times like I just described where you're making other people's behavior mean something about you. Again, don't do this work alone. Like, if you're going to therapy and you're not seeing a big change in this behavior, I would again encourage you to go to coaching. This is, by the way, not a coaching plug, but it's just my experience. And then last but not least, when again people are coming and going from your life, back to what I said earlier, is remembering that your happiness isn't contingent on the person being in your life, and how can you enjoy them in your life for the day that you have them and potentially the following day, right? So with that being said, I'm going to end it there in health and happiness.